Welcome back to the Fuel Your Legacy podcast. Each week, we expose the faulty foundational mindsets of the past and rebuild a newer, stronger foundation essential in creating your meaningful legacy. We've got a lot of work to do, so let's get started. As much as you like this podcast, I'm certain that you're going to love the book that I just released on Amazon, Fuel Your Legacy, The 9 Pillars to Build a Meaningful Legacy. I wrote this to share with you the experiences that I had while I was identifying my identity, how I began to create my meaningful legacy, and how you can create yours. You're going to find this book on Kindle, Amazon, and as always on my website, samknickerbocker.com. Welcome back to the Fuel Your Legacy show, and today we've got a real treat. I'm super excited because I think that this is one of the topics that is the most important when really building a legacy, and that is how do you actually share it? How do you market it? How do you let people know how you want to be remembered? So that's what we're going to be talking about today. If you are listening to this before June, I mean, really anytime, you can go to my website, samknickerbocker.com, and see some of the upcoming events that we'll be speaking at. A lot of events are business focused, whether it's influence marketing or branding a business, or just strengthening your inner world and becoming a better leader, all of which are fantastic. There will be a replay of the Next Gen Mastermind Business Summit that we did down in Vegas just last month, and it was incredible. So if you want to see the replay, it's going to be phenomenal. Got some great people there sharing some incredible information, and more importantly, guiding you through experiences to really launch your business and helping you grow into the next level. So that being said, our guest today is Ryan Cote, and he is from the beautiful part of America, over in the East Coast, right? The East Coast is more, I don't know, I guess it's tomato. I like the East Coast because I grew up in the West. They like the West because they grew up in the East. So who knows? But I love it. It's green. If you're watching this on YouTube, then you can see that it's very much green where he's from. So super excited. But him and his family, they actually started a marketing company, really, and it's Ballantine, correct?
Right, yeah.
Name of the marketing firm, digital services, and they really help people brand their business or at least market their business. Started in 1966. He's now third generation carrying the torch for his family and his family's business. I'm excited to hear how COVID impacted it, but also just why you're still here. Why did nobody else, why have you not gone and done anything else? So super excited. Welcome, Ryan. Give us your story. Let us know how you got to where you are and why you're still going, and where do you see yourself in the future?
Oh, yeah. Thanks, Sam. Appreciate it. Happy to be here. All right. So where do I start here? Like you said, I'm from New Jersey. I guess on the personal side, I'll go there first. Married, actually 15 years this September, so I got to start planning that. Thanks for reminding me.
Yeah, you better start.
3 kids, 3 daughters, 10, 8, and 6 at the time of this recording. Active in sports and all that, so that keeps me very busy. And then I'm partners in Ballantine, my family's marketing agency. It's not just me carrying the torch. There's myself, my 2 brothers, and my uncle. So the 4 of us are partners in the agency. My cousin's there too, and we have non-family members at the company as well. Started at Ballantine in 2003, doing like marketing. That's what I graduated my degrees in, and then in about 5 years ago we started the digital division. So we do direct mail and digital. About 5 years ago I started the digital division. And now that's my main focus. I do a little bit of the marketing for Ballantine, but really the team handles that. And my concentration is on the digital side. Love what I do. With COVID, we're all remote. And if you're watching this video, I'm in my backyard because the house is full with kids. So we're remote, which is really interesting. Never thought that would happen. I guess also on the personal side, I'm very big into personal development. We could talk about that. I've got a whole blog and podcast that I run for that. So those are my passions: marketing, family, business, entrepreneurship, personal development.
Awesome. So let's go back to, growing up, you grew up, I'm assuming, with your grandparents or parents, aunts and uncles doing marketing. Was it always direct mail until you got in and started doing digital?
Yeah, honestly, it's been like a slow evolution. So we started, if we go back to 1966, my great uncle started it. It was print and ship work. So you're a company and you want brochures printed and shipped to your office for a trade show or whatever. And then it became print and ship work, and then also direct mail. So that's like you're mailing this stuff into your mailbox. And then we added copy and design. I think in the 90s, I wasn't part of it then, but in the 90s we added copy and design. And then we've had other stuff too. Like we've added like premiums, like promotional items, that never really took off. But then we added the digital. Now we have a full team that handles digital in-house, from SEO to paid search, social content, all of that. So it's been like a slow, steady evolution to where we are now. And like as of 2021, our core services are direct mail, creative, and then digital marketing.
Okay. And so what age did you actually start working in and around the business? I know you said 2003 is when you started taking a more active role, but like, were you already working in the family business as a young kid, skating by the child labor laws?
So yeah, I became an official employee in 2003, but yeah, during college breaks and summers, I was working as like, I don't remember what I was doing, honestly. Sure, a lot of grunt work and stuff. I had other jobs too. I actually had two jobs outside of college. So going into the business I didn't think about it. I knew I wanted to do marketing, and my family, printing, it's marketing, direct mail. But it wasn't until my middle brother, Matt, went into the business, I started giving it more serious thought, because I thought it'd be kind of cool to work with my dad and my uncle and my brother. But yeah, I had other jobs.
What about marketing like caught your attention, and how old were you when you first discovered that you or thought about, hey, I want to be in marketing?
That's a good question. I've always been interested in marketing, selling, entrepreneurship. I look at marketing and sales as like the two critical skills. And so I always read books on it, and personal development. So I guess it came down to that. I looked at sales and marketing as like real critical skills for any business and entrepreneurship. And so I just naturally gravitated towards it. I also think I guess I'm a little more of a creative type. Definitely not technical, analytical. I'm not at all. And so I just gravitated towards marketing. And maybe there was some sort of like, with the fact that my family business had a marketing company, even though it was like direct mail, still marketing. Maybe there was some influence there that I was just unknowingly absorbing the messages
Sure.
of my family.
So how would you define the difference between marketing and sales?
I would say, well, I think marketing is promoting your product or your service, convincing someone to buy it. Whereas selling is more direct, whereas marketing is more indirect. It's a good question. I think they're very intertwined, because when you're marketing, you're trying to sell. When you're selling, you're trying to promote yourself. So they are very intertwined in my opinion.
Yeah, so that's what I'm wondering. I just wonder, like, how much of it is intertwined. Could you do sales without any marketing? I think you could be great at sales, but not be great at marketing.
Because there are different skill sets. When I think of marketing, I think of writing blogs and doing doing SEO and running paid search campaigns. When I think of selling, because I do selling for Ballantine, it's contacting prospects or contacting ones that contact you, and trying to present your offerings to them and trying to convince them that you are the best option for them. So there's a lot of communication and rapport building and different types of skills that are different than marketing.
Yeah, I wonder. I think you could be good at sales, but not good at marketing. But I don't think you could be good at marketing without being good at sales. Maybe I'm wrong, right? If you don't understand the full sales cycle and where you actually want that person to end up, and understand the questions that are going to naturally be coming up in their mind, the barriers to them purchasing your product, whether that's in a direct conversation or somebody going to an online platform to buy it, marketing, in my mind, a large part of marketing, the blogs, the podcasts, the posts, social media posts, whatever, a lot of that is to say, okay, well, these are the 7 objections to getting why somebody doesn't buy my product. I'm going to indirectly answer all of these 7 questions, walking them down the path so that they're ready to do the sales transaction. Yep. But if you don't know where you're walking them down to, how good at marketing could you really be?
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think of like with selling, you just need to understand the product you're selling, the service you're selling. And if you understand the product or service you're selling and you have like basic communication skills, that you could do very well. Whereas marketing, there's so many different skill sets you need to know. The technical side of like SEO, for example, to how to write copy. There's just so many layers of it. It can be very hard.
So in your business, let's say you're going to help, somebody comes in and they say, hey, I'm interested in hiring your firm as a marketing firm, right? They're going to do marketing, digital marketing, whatever. Yep. How important is it for you to know their brand before you can actually effectively market for them?
Yeah, it's definitely important. It's like the way we handle that, just to give you like a actionable takeaway here is every new client engagement, we start off with a positioning statement exercise and a kickoff. It's usually like a 2-hour meeting. So we'll ask them a bunch of questions like, what do they sell? Who do they sell to? Why do they buy? All those types of questions. Just try to get a really good understanding. Of course, you can only learn so much in those 2 hours, but then just as a byproduct of being in the business and handling all their digital marketing or their direct mail, you learn more about it by osmosis. And just doing it longer, putting in the reps. But yeah, you definitely need to understand the product for sure. I mean, you think about content. I mean, obviously you need to understand the product or service to be able to write about it. But even like SEO and Google ads, like what keywords is someone going to search? It's different from industry to industry. And sometimes it's very nuanced. So you need to understand the business better to do a good job.
And do you, when you're sitting down with somebody, are they generally coming in with already how much are they coming in with? Do they already have their logos, their brand colors, their fonts? Do they already have all of that? Or are you saying, look, we're going to create all of that for you in the process of marketing?
Well, so the types of clients that we work with now, the types of clients we gravitate towards and types of clients that we actively go after, if you want to use those words.
Pursue,
hunt. Manufacturers and industrial companies, B2B industrial, really like random niche stuff that it's amazing how many businesses are in this world that you don't even know exist. From like one of our clients, they manufacture elevator parts for really old elevators, like 100-year plus, like really old brand elevators. They make the parts for that. We've got another client that makes the position sensors for the wheels on an airplane. So just like really crazy stuff. And so for those types of clients, they typically don't have a marketing person, or they've dabbled a little bit in marketing, but not a whole lot. But they're understanding that they're buyers, especially as they get younger. They're looking online to research their products, and not all. Some are pretty sophisticated, but I would say for the most part, they really need our help, and it's very gratifying to kind of like sink our teeth into their digital and help them.
So a lot of your clients, they already have potentially an established brand. They've been around for a while, but they're just wondering, how do we expose this and educate the right people so that they come to us when they need our parts rather than somebody else or our services?
Yeah, they have a website. They usually have a website, and they have some logo and all that. They just haven't done SEO, or they haven't run Google ads, or maybe they're writing some content, but it's infrequent because they have other responsibilities.
Yeah, awesome. So that's incredible. So you went through that, go through school. You went to school for marketing, correct? At what point do you meet your wife?
Okay, so I met her in 2000. Actually, right around when I started at Ballantine. I could tell you the story. I don't know how interesting it is, but
yeah, let's hear it.
I used to live in Hoboken.
Juicy details.
I used to live in Hoboken, New Jersey, which is like
beautiful. I like Hoboken a lot, actually.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, a lot of restaurants, a lot of things to do. And I used to live with two of my friends, and twice a year we would have a backyard party, and then from there we would go to a bar and rent out the bar. So, just have a lot of fun. And one party, it was right around my friend Greg's birthday. And so we just said the party was for his birthday. It really wasn't. It was just kind of the same timing. And because of that, his friend, Julie, came to the party because they worked together. She wanted to celebrate his birthday, and she didn't want to come alone. So she brought her friend Jill, who's now my wife. And somehow I, convinced her to go on a date. And then 15 years later, 3 kids. And here we are.
Awesome. I love that, meeting through connections. I met my wife on Facebook, so
Nice.
different era probably, but I made fun of people for meeting their wives on Facebook, and then I met my wife on Facebook. So it's like, well, it happened.
I met my wife at a bar. So
yeah, no, that's awesome. So you have 3 kids. You've been doing the social media marketing. How does that fit into? And is there thought, or was there thought of what legacy your great uncle, when he started the company, like what he wanted the company to be, and the core values and the messaging and like the mission statement of the company? Has that changed throughout the years? Has it remained fairly consistent and just the application of it has changed? What does that look like in a multi-generational family business?
Yeah, actually, timing on that question is pretty good because unfortunately, he just passed away. My great uncle who started the company in '66, he just passed away like a week or 2 ago, and he was 88. And we were talking about this. It's kind of crazy. Like when he decided to start the company, it was solo. His brother, my grandfather, didn't join until '68, 2 years later. And so it's crazy to think about like the whole entrepreneurial journey. His one decision to start the business by himself in '66 would then have this ripple effect to employ. Not that we have like a huge company. There's 18 of us, but over the last 55 years, we've employed a lot of people, helped a lot of clients. And so that legacy he created, it's still going and it's going to keep going. And so there's that one decision that had this gigantic ripple effect across so many people, and to where it is today. And we're going to keep it going, keep growing it. It's just, I don't know. I get a kick out of just thinking about that. You know, I don't think I'm sure he wasn't thinking that long, like, 55 years later, it's still going to be going. And, but it is. And that's, it's pretty cool to think about it.
So for you, and this is, I'm just curious because I didn't have the opportunity to work for a family business per se, which is fine. And hopefully my kids, if they want to, they can work with my business. If they don't, that's okay too, whatever they want to do. But do you consider yourself like now, because you're 3rd generation inside of a company that you didn't really start, do you consider yourself more of a just like an employee, maybe an executive, or do you still see yourself as an entrepreneur? And how would you separate the difference in your situation?
It's a very good question. So no, I definitely consider myself an entrepreneur. I don't feel like a W-2. The company's been in the family for so long. I've been around it for so long. I would say that when I became partner a few years ago, it did take a little time for me to get used to that thought. Like, I'm one of the owners now. It was an immediate switch where I was like, oh, it just took me a while. I guess because also I was an employee for those first 15 years or whatever. So that transition was different. But no, I definitely, I have, my mind, I like a very entrepreneurial mind. I think about these things all the time. I love business. I love trying to think of new ideas and ways to do things. My brothers are the same way, my uncle. So, it's a lot of fun. So I definitely feel more like an entrepreneur. I definitely don't feel like this is just a job. Also keep in mind that the digital division is really like a startup within the longer standing company. And so we still are trying to figure, there's certain things that we are doing much better now than we were 5 years ago. And we've got, more growth coming and more things to fix. And so it's a startup within a bigger company. So that's very entrepreneurial as well.
Sure. So thinking about what your grandpa did create, as far as grandpa and great uncle, they were able to create a business that's still here 55, well, more than that, almost, right?
50, what is it? Yeah, 66. No, 55 years this year.
Okay. So 55 years later, and having the hindsight of saying, okay, well, he probably didn't plan for that, but it's still here and it's rocking, and we've been able to change a lot of lives. And you've been able to grow up seeing that impact that essentially one man or 2 men, through a lot of hard work and dedication, can create in at least their immediate surroundings, if not the world. What does that have you and your wife thinking about the impact that you want to bring to the world? Not necessarily just your company, although I'm sure you're going to have a big impact in Ballantine, but as a greater capacity, what's the long-term vision that you're hoping, or the impact to have on the people and the places around you?
Yeah, so I think about this more and more now, impact and legacy. Maybe because I'm in my 40s now, And I don't know. It's just, I think it's also all the content I consume, the podcasts and the audibles, and it's just like, it just seeps into my brain. But I'm thinking more about impact. And of course, like Ballantine, that we're trying to impact the people that work for us, our team members, the clients, and we're always trying to do things better. Like every year, Kaizen, like continuous improvement. And so that will naturally have an impact. I hope, like a nice ripple effect, like for the next 55 years. For me, where I'm also going to is, like I said, I'm very big into personal development. And so what I created a website. I have a blog, a podcast. I'm excited. It's been about a year. I'm just not really sure which direction I'm going to take it. Is it a mastermind? Is it just stay as a blog and a podcast? But I talk about personal development and morning routines. And so to me, that's like my mission for impact. Ballantine. Yep. That will continue to try to create impact. But then I got Morning Upgrade, which is the site, morningupgrade.com. And that's my attempt at creating something, like creating content and creating an asset, a website that will affect people in a positive way, raise the awareness of personal development, personal growth mindset for entrepreneurs, and really anyone who's interested in that. And that's been a fun journey, like creating a podcast. So, like as the host, it's hard, like keeping the conversation going. And so that alone was like hard to learn and get used to. And it's been a really fun journey though. And I'm really excited to see where I take it.
Yeah, I think it's a lot easier to keep the conversation going when you just make sure that the only people you're inviting on your podcast you actually are interested in talking to. If you're not interested in talking to them, don't invite them on your podcast. If you think, oh, this is going to be boring, don't do it. So I'm curious about this. So you're starting now a second business on the side, right? Just because it's more of a passion project as of right now. Which question do I ask first? Okay, I'm going to go with this question first. Is it something that, as of right now, you could see one of your daughters taking over? Or are you still planning on having kids? Are you going to pass it down to a son, or just to your daughters? Do you see them, and are they looking at you and your family business and saying, "Oh, I want to go be like Dad, and I want to go work in their business"? Or are they just completely looking other places? I know they're young, but that doesn't mean that they aren't. I mean, most people, that's when they have all their dreams, and then by the time they're 15, 16 years old, they've given up on their dreams. So what are they dreaming about right now? And does that involve your legacy, or does it not involve your legacy that you're intentionally trying to create?
Yeah, so I don't think they're going to have any interest in marketing. I mean, I don't know. They haven't said that. And that would be like a weird thing for like a 10 or 8 or 6-year-old to say, hey, I want to be a marketer when I get older. That would make me take a step back. Be like, huh? One wants to be a nurse because my wife's a nurse. One wants to be an author and a writer. And then, so maybe that's a copywriter that we can hire for Ballantine. And my other daughter, I think she wants to be like a hairstylist, she said, but who knows? I mean, they're so young. I mean, I try to have a positive influence on them. Like, so every night we have a nighttime routine. Not trying to sound like Dad of the Year here, but it's just what I do.
Sound like Dad of the Year, man. Teach us what we need to be doing as fathers and husbands.
So we have a nighttime routine. So we'll have, before they go to bed, it's funny because this house, like it has like a loft area where they all sleep in like 3 beds, sort of like an orphanage, like 3 beds next to each other. And so when I put them to bed, I have them tell me one thing that they're grateful for, and then I give them like a lesson. I'll read something of a page of a book to them, like always personal development related. We read The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. We finished that one. Now I'm going through Darren Daily. It's a newsletter I belong to. It's daily lessons, and so I'll give them a lesson around that. So I'm trying to like seep in personal development and personal growth into their minds, because they're not going to think about this stuff. Like, why would they? You don't know what you don't know, and they're not going to think hey, I should think about what I'm grateful for, and I should do this. So that's like my part in trying to have impact on them, which then who knows where they'll take it. That's to be seen.
Yeah, that's interesting. I'm curious, why do you think would be more weird for somebody to say, I want to be a marketer, than it is for them to say, I want to be a nurse?
You stumped me with that one. I guess I was gonna say, I think because I think the daughters want to be like their mother, and so they see her as a nurse, and it's a very noble career, helping people. I don't think they really fully know what I do, so they know I'm on the computer a lot. and they see me with this microphone, but I don't think they fully know what I do. I try to explain to them, but they just like, I basically end up defaulting to that we provide services to clients and they pay us for our services. That's
that could sound real bad though. So you got to be careful. I'm just kidding. I'm just teasing. So with this, let's switch back. So this is the other question I want to ask. So thank you for answering those. I think that honestly, family is the number one thing for me. Every time I hear of people struggling in their marriage, entrepreneurs, anything like that, I just think, man, I got to go spend more time with my family. I think COVID, although it hurt a lot of people, so I don't want to diminish the impact it had on people. It actually saved a lot of families as well. Like there's a lot of families that broke up because they were never compatible and they just were hanging on by strings. And that's unfortunate. But there's a lot of people who finally like got to reconnect and think, oh, like my kids, I actually love them. I love my wife. I don't want to go back to work. I'm tired of driving for an hour and a half or 2 hours to get to and from where I need to be. Like, why can't I find a job that I can work from home? And you can. That's the cool thing. So there's been a lot of job movement, employment movement, because people don't want to go back to work and there's plenty of jobs from home. So fascinating. When it comes to the personal development, what do you feel like you're bringing to the table that's different than any other personal development person out there? Morning Miracle. I mean, there's so many like other people who have done similar things, and it's fascinating. So I once you get into the personal development space, you're like, how does not everybody know about all of these people? Yeah. But there's people who don't know who Ed Milet is, Bradley. They don't know who Andy Frisella is. They don't know who Zig Ziglar is. They don't know who Dale Carnegie is. They don't know who Napoleon Hill is, right? And once you're in the world, you're like, these are like the staple names. How do you not know who these people are? John C. Maxwell, Eric Thomas. I mean, like the list goes on and on. Say again?
Jim Rohn,
right? How do you not know who these people are? Robert Kiyosaki. I mean, it just goes on. But so you kind of get some, for me, and I'm acknowledging my bias as I'm asking this question, but like, what are you bringing to the table on top of that? Yes, there's a whole bunch of people out there who don't even know about personal development at all, and they need to be introduced to it. But for the people who are already in the world of personal development, what more are you bringing to the table? What unique perspective are you bringing that you haven't found anywhere else?
Yeah, that's a good question. That's something that now we're kind of getting to marketing. And that's something that that's something I am trying to figure out, and I do struggle with it a little bit. My way of dealing with it is just to keep on putting out content and figure it out as I go along. But what I will say though is that like I have a different perspective than Tony Robbins does, and obviously I'm not comparing myself to him, but I'm just saying like my views are different. You're just as good as
he is, man. There's nothing that he has that you don't. We all were created equal.
An extra foot though. He's like 6'9".
That's true. That's true. And some giant hands. He's got some giant hands.
So my views are different on things. Like I process things differently. I also consume so much content with this stuff. I'm like a maniac, and then I try to convey it to the people that read my blog and listen to my podcast through my own lens, which is different than Ed Milet. And so I think that right there is one thing. I'm also like, I'm probably, obviously I'm like more relatable than like someone like Tony Robbins, who's like this gigantic success. And so maybe I will speak to different people than he would. Also, like I think about, I mean, really, if you think about it, like I'm really starting off with speaking to my immediate circle, like clients, vendors, my team, my friends. Those are the people that are more likely going to listen to me because they know me. And so I'm starting there, and then we'll see where it goes. Like I'm having, it's interesting because I had like last week, a vendor, one of our print vendors, comment on the blog saying, "Wow, I'm glad I found this," and blah, blah, blah. I'm going to listen to the podcast. So hopefully now I'm going to have an impact on him, and we'll see where that goes. And so I'm really just focusing on putting out content every week, blog and podcasts. Okay, trying to improve what I'm doing, and then start to try to create impact with my immediate circle, the ones that are more likely going to listen to me, including my mom. Thanks, Mom and Dad. And then we'll grow from there.
Yeah, no, I think this is huge because it's the one thing that I don't know if you're conscious of what you just said, but I want to highlight on it. It's the one thing that changed my life the most. Like I will always remember where I was driving down State Street here in Orem, Utah, and listening to something by Bob Proctor, the You Were Born Rich seminar. If you haven't listened to it, it's phenomenal. I listened to it on YouTube. So there's like six videos on YouTube. Anyways, point is, in this thing, he's basically getting down to the point that exactly what you said. Literally nobody else in this world sees the world through your eyes. You are the only one with a very unique perspective on life. Now, your perspective may be similar to others. You may feel connected because you're like, man, we think a lot alike. But there's always going to be a unique perspective if you allow yourself to think and develop it. Yep. Right? So if you just are constantly intaking and regurgitating other people's information, then you'll be there, which is not a bad thing, right? You're still spreading the good message, but you're then spreading Tony Robbins' message, Ed Mylett's message, Brad Lee's message, rather than creating your own message from that same content or that same thought process and taking it, hey, this is the next stage of what I think the next stage of this thought process is. Yep. And so that's one thing that's huge. And the other thing you said is you're more relatable. And I think once you get to being as big as Tony Robbins or Ed Mylett or these individuals who have excelled so much in the personal development space, you're exactly right that you become unrelatable to the intro level person. Mm-hmm. And so they can impact people, but oftentimes somebody who's just going through the journey can have a bigger impact on a certain level of thought or frequency of thought person than somebody who's way, way up ahead. Now, some people, they really like the people who are way, way up ahead, but a lot of people get discouraged because they're like, I don't know how to do that. And no matter how many times they share their story of their struggle, it was like they're sharing a story from 30 years ago. And nobody can relate because when I share my story from 30 years ago, there was no cell phones, there was black and white TV, there was antennas, there was so much stuff that is existent right now that wasn't existent then, that my problems seem archaic to the point where they're not relatable anymore.
Yeah, those are great points.
It's a fascinating thing. So, and then consistency. If you're consistent, then there's a lot of people who have great opinions that aren't consistent.
Yeah, I really, for everyone listening and watching, I really recommend creating content. Like, what's your expertise? What do you want to, what impact you want to have in the world? And then create a brand around it, create content around it. It's really I've only been doing this for about a year, but it's really interesting to see where this is going to go, because just to give you some examples, I'm now having clients on the podcast. So it's almost becoming like a business tool as well. So I'm having clients on the podcast. I'm inviting prospects on. So it's it's a interesting value touch. Instead of it being like, hey, can I have your business? Like, hey, will you be on my podcast? Just putting yourself out there, it's awkward, creating content and sharing it, and what are people going to think? And you get over it, but you got to put yourself out there and be vulnerable. And then just try new things. I'm actually in the process of writing a book too now, and never did that before. It's a very annoying process, but I'm going to try to learn how to promote books on Amazon, something I know nothing about. And so here we go, just a different journey and just trying to figure it out. It's fun.
Yeah. What is your book going to be about? General topic. Obviously, I don't want you to spill all the beans, but what's your book going to be about when you write it?
Yeah. So it's probably a little, it's going to be a book for entrepreneurs about how to use morning routines and personal development to upgrade your life and business. And basically it's going to be almost like a manual or a handbook covering everything from morning routines to gratitude practice to injecting personal development into your work, into your company, into your kids. I'm really covering every single topic that is important to me, that I consider important. And it's the kind of book that I want to read, and so I'm probably a few months away from getting it done. But yeah, that's it.
Cool. I'm one of those selfish authors as well, who it's I'm writing something that I want and that I wish was around for me, and then hopefully other people like it as well.
Yeah, and I'll hopefully people buy it and they learn a lot from it. I'll give it away on the site. I'll sell it on the site. I'll give it away to clients and my team. And so I don't know. It's just, but it all starts with putting yourself out there and creating content.
Yeah, absolutely. So what's the biggest? Who's been your biggest naysayer in life, and how did you overcome those voices telling you couldn't succeed or you wouldn't succeed, or if you just had a cherry blossom life and never had any opposition or adversity?
Honestly, I would say I'm probably my own worst enemy. I can't think of it. I don't think anyone said to me like don't do Ballantine or don't join Ballantine or don't start morning upgrade. But it's really like the voices in my head, like the self-doubt and like who's going to read this thing? Why would they listen to you? All those stupid thoughts that you think in your head. It's very natural. And so I'd probably say I'm my biggest naysayer. How do I deal with it? Well, personal development, gratitude practice, my morning routine. Well, what I will say though, it's been huge. And, this goes back to like the Napoleon Hill days, when he wrote about this, but masterminds. So putting yourself in front of people that are like-minded that will encourage you. That's been huge. I'm actually part of 2 masterminds. Ed Milet talks about, raising your temperature and like your temperature might be like 85 degrees or whatever. And, you might, once you get above 85 degrees, you're going to automatically start self-sabotaging yourself to get down lower. And so one way you combat that is just being around people that have higher temperatures and will encourage you. It's the masterminds have been huge. I've been part of a mastermind for 5 years now, I think, and now I'm part of 2. It's been huge.
So let's talk about this. I think I'm going to call you out, and I think you just said something I don't believe. So I'm excited to have a discussion about it.
Sure.
I didn't know I didn't believe it until you said it, and I was like, I don't agree with that. So is it really natural to have negative self-talk? Do you think a baby comes out and naturally, if they were left to their own devices, would have negative self-talk? Mm-mm. Or do you think that it's environmental? We see other people have negative self-talk, and as a result, we adopt some of those limiting beliefs that other people have about themselves, and we choose to believe them about ourselves as well.
I think it's interesting. I think you're not born with the self-doubt. I think it's really just a byproduct of all your experiences and something you're not even conscious of, that you don't remember. The teacher that said that you couldn't do something, or a kid that made fun of you, or whatever the case is. It's like it's a compound of all the different experiences you've had that basically it forms your identity and how you think about yourself and all that. Maybe it's your parenting, it's your environment. I think it's all these like micro experiences that add up to your identity. That's my opinion, at least. Okay,
so I'm not going to challenge that as well. But first, I want to share a funny story from Cars 3. Have you seen the movie Cars 3?
I don't think I have.
Oh man, it's great. Anyway, so Cars 3, what's his doofus? Lightning McQueen. He's trying to get faster, but now he's like this ancient car, and they have these high performance cars that have been created. Yeah. And so he's trying to keep up with these high performance cars, but it's just his car was not made to go as fast as their cars were made to go for. That's the simple end of it, right? So he had a trainer, and the trainer is one of these high performance cars, but the trainer is not a racer. She's just a trainer, right? And she, in the storyline, she grew up idolizing him for what he was able to accomplish. And then finally she got to be his trainer to help him get a little bit of extra speed. And so she was complaining to him or something about how she always wanted to be a racer, but just couldn't, whatever. And then she asked him, like, how do you do it? And his response was, in essence, I've never thought that I couldn't. I've always just believed that I was the best racer. There was never even a thought that I wasn't the best racer. Sometimes I lost, but I was always the best racer. And that's the difference between you and me. Even though you have better parts, you have more opportunity, more everything, you just don't believe that you were meant to be a racer. I believe that I was meant to be the best racer, and it was a belief system. Okay. So that's a story, but let's go back even farther, because you mentioned something about how your it's a bunch of micro experiences. Okay. So how much do you know who Joe Dispenza is? Let's start there.
Yeah. He was on MLS podcast. He's like the mindset guy, right?
His book? Well, yeah, you can call him mindset. I would call him a quantum physicist, or that's probably what I would call it. Right. But a neuroscientist, you could call him that as well. But basically, we are all, I would go read his book, Evolve Your Brain. And he has a lot of books, but that's probably the I don't know. That's my favorite one of all of his books.
Evolve Your Brain?
Evolve Your Brain. Okay. But it goes really deep into the idea that we are all just particles, right? We're all a nucleus with positive and negative energy spinning around. And the only reason that you're separate from your clothes or the microphone or the trees or the air behind you is just because you're vibrating at different frequencies. That's the only difference. We're all on an atomic structure. We're all atoms. That's it, right? So when experiences happen in our lives, our atomic structure gets, for lack of a better word, dented or thrown out of perfect synchronization. Okay. And then, so I still don't think it's natural. Okay. I'm going to defend my statement. I still don't think it's natural. However, I do believe that some people are born with limiting beliefs. And here's why. Because when your energy is thrown out of whack, and then you have a little spermie and a little egg, they get together and they decide to make a baby, and then your faulty DNA, your impacted, dented DNA starts to replicate those dents into the next generation, and thus the next generation is born with limiting beliefs that really came from previous generations of trauma. It's kind of crazy, but I think it's worth being clear that I don't think it's natural to have negative self-talk. I do believe that you could be born with it, but I also believe that you can change it and get back to a more natural state.
How do you do it?
Depends on what you call natural is. Say that again.
How do you do it? How do you handle your self-doubt, or do you not have any?
Oh, I think we all have self-doubt as far as like at different levels. But I think the biggest thing for me has to become clear on what my gifts are, number one, and number two, to track it, right? So I'm constantly looking for where are the inconsistencies. If somebody else has accomplished it, then I'm capable, right? If it has been achieved, then Samuel is capable of achieving it, which means if there's a discrepancy between what has been achieved and what I'm currently achieving, then I need to figure out why and become conscious of the things. And then, as you said in the very beginning, look at it through a different lens, because you see everything through the lens that you see it. So if you can start to adjust the way you view the world from a different lens, which is why masterminds are so effective, because you're raising that temperature, as Ed Milet would say, you're getting around a new lens, and it takes a while to get there. But once you adopt that new lens, a lot of those energy things, they could still hold you back. But as soon as you isolate them and you're like putting it under microscopic glass and saying, okay, this is the piece of energy that's off, because the lens that you see the world is changed, it will change back instantly. In my experience, right? All of the past trauma that I had, it was still there. But as soon as I was able to isolate it and say, oh, what is this trauma? When I was looking at it through a healthier lens, it was instantly fixed back. It was no longer impacting me negatively. So it's interesting. I think just becoming aware, and that's where gratitude, journaling, those types of things are super, super impactful for me.
Yeah. I mean, I've noticed even with my kids, like when we started doing the gratitude practice, I would ask them and they would like just, it would take them forever to think of something, and now they're like, boom, 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 literally like seconds. So like their brain, I feel like is already rewired to look for the positive, because they just instantly have what they're grateful for.
Yeah, I love it. So if somebody wanted to come and support you on your podcast, your books, your blogs, social media, anywhere, or become, maybe they have some direct mailing or marketing needs that they would like to see if you'd be a good fit for them, where do they find you?
Yeah, definitely go to Ballantine.com. It's our agency's website. And then my blog and podcast is morningupgrade.com. So Ballantine.com and morningupgrade.com.
Yeah, but those should be in the show notes as well. And just so, Morning Upgrade's pretty easy, but Ballantine, it's spelt like Valentine, like Valentine's Day, correct? But it's just with a B in the beginning.
Well, it sounds like that. It's actually spelled like the beer. Ballantine.
Okay.
Ballantine.
Ballantine.com. Go and visit him there, or Morning Upgrade. Again, because that's really where the passion comes out, is the Morning Upgrade. Not that you're not passionate about Ballantine, but it sounds like you're going to get more excited about the impact that you could have on the world through the Morning Upgrade side of your business. And maybe it'll change names, maybe it'll rebrand, but that feeling of spreading that type of joy and focus. So our next section is called Legacy on Rapid Fire. It's just 5 questions, 1 word to 1 sentence answers. Okay. Are you ready?
I am ready. Let's do this.
You hope so. No. Awesome. So what has been your greatest accomplishment to this point in your life?
Raising kids.
Okay. And what's the hardest
Raising good kids.
Raising good kids. That is the key. What's the hardest thing you've ever accomplished?
Being you could say raising kids too, but being a real estate investor with my wife. We own some property, and there's just been some issues. Actually, we're going through one right now that's just been really challenging. So I would say that. Yeah,
that's not an isolated experience. Okay, what do you think is holding you back from reaching the next level of your legacy today?
Consistently doing the hard things. And I would say maybe some belief as well.
Okay. And what's one habit, mindset, or behavior that you've adopted into your life that you think would change our lives if we adopted it into ours?
Yeah, definitely the morning routine. Start a morning routine. It could be you could read The Miracle Morning. That's a good book to start off with. But crafting the first hour of your day on your own terms. It's been a game changer for me. I do it every day, and I have been for the last few years.
Fantastic. And what are one or two books that you would recommend to the Fuel Your Legacy audience?
Let's go with The Compound Effect. That's the one that I really had the most impact on me, by Darren Hardy. And How to Win Friends and Influence People. That's a classic too.
Amen. Both of them are incredible. So here's the final question. My favorite question, actually, and we've kind of already covered it, but I'm excited to hear in more detail. So if you died today, maybe not died today, but 6 generations from now. So we're talking about your great grandchildren. They're sitting around a table discussing the life that you led, the impact you had, and the legacy you left. What would you want them to be saying about your legacy 6 generations from now?
I would say good father, good husband, good son. I would also want them to say that I cared about people, and that I did my best to encourage them to take their personal growth seriously through Morning Upgrade. Those are the things I would say that I hope they say.
Hey, awesome. Love it. And I think that based on my conversation, at least you're living that life, which is important. You're living the way that hopefully people will recognize you. And then you're going to get on the marketing aspect. That's the thing. Once it's down on paper, on blogs, in podcasts, in books, that's when it really can last for generations, because those things never die. So
yeah, absolutely.
Super excited. And thank you all for joining us today. If you have any questions or you want him back on, go ahead and reach out to him at ballantine.com or themorningupgrade.com. And then you can always reach me at samknickerbocker.com or on social media at sam.knickerbocker on pretty much any platform. So we'll catch you guys next time, and have a wonderful day. Thanks for joining us. If what you heard today resonates with you, please like, comment, and share on social media. Tag me, and if you do give me a shout out, I'll give you a shout out on the next episode. Thanks to all of those who've left a review. It helps spread the message of what it takes to build a legacy that lasts. And we'll catch you next time on Fuel Your Legacy.